Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. It has been a week of high drama at state power utility Eskom. Engineering news editor Terence Creamer joins me in studio to talk about what happened and what lessons can be drawn. Terence, welcome to Second Take. Can you take us through what happened at Eskom over the last 2 weeks?
Yes, on the 28th of October, there was a board meeting at Eskom where two divergent strategies emerged, one proposed by the then CEO, Jacob Maroga, and the other proposed by the then chairman, Bobby Godsell. The two men withdrew from that process and Bobby Godsell's vision was preferred. And that was a signal to the board that Mr. Maroga was no longer the CEO and they had then accepted his resignation. But subsequent to that, Mr. Maroga said he had never resigned. And in fact, it was confirmed by the acting chairperson, MAKWANA, yesterday that he had never put that resignation in writing. And there was a toing and froing involving the shareholder minister, Barbara Hogan, and ultimately President Jacob Zuma's office to try and sort this out. But yesterday, which was Thursday, Mr. MAKWANA had a press conference where it was confirmed that the board held its position that there was a resignation by Mr. Maroga, and that they had accepted that resignation.
At times it wasn't quite clear whether government was fully supportive of normalised corporate governance practice at Eskom. Do you think this issue has been resolved?
Well, I think for the immediate future, yes. I think Minister Hogan's presentation to Parliament on Thursday was quite unambiguous and clear. It was that the boards are in charge of governance. Yes, there's some relative independence or a lack of independence at these boards because the minister has the prerogative to appoint the CEO, but that ultimately the governance structures need to remain intact and they are important for these very complex enterprises. But I think during the last 2 weeks it's been pretty unclear. I think we've had statements suggesting that these boards are an impediment to development, to the developmental state vision of the new government, that they are overreaching. And I think that we do need clarity once and for all about how we're going to be approaching state-owned enterprise governance. This is a recurring theme. It's happened at SABC, it's happened at Transnet, it's happened at SAA, it's happening at Armscor at the moment. It's something that has to be sorted out. If it's not sorted out, there's going to be this perpetual feeling that there's headroom above the minister that should be in charge, that political opportunists can operate in. And we need to close that gap once and for all. And I think there is movement. Apparently there's a move by the Public Enterprises Department to try and align the Public Finance Management Act with best corporate governance as proposed by King 3, and also with the New Companies Act, so that we once and for all have a clear line of governance and that the boards rule.
Terence, one of the unfortunate sides of the leadership debacle at Eskom was the emergence of racial politics. Do you think that state-owned enterprises will be permanently scarred by these developments?
Well, I think it's a reality. I think racism exists in South African society. It's not a reality we can get away from. And but what is happening is that this race card is used in the absence of evidence. And I think if there's one positive that might emerge from the way it was used in the case with the former chairperson Bobby Godsell at Eskom, was that this is a man whose credentials are pretty impeccable. In fact, if you look at the role he played in the 1980s, that was pre the transition, during the transition, and post the transition, he's got a very good record on transformation issues. He was the man who engaged with Cyril Ramaphosa intensively during the very bruising 1987 miners' strike. And it was bruising, but ultimately it led to much freer trade union activity during a time when apartheid was coming to its end. He was a man that got involved in the drafting of the peace accord with the churches and others when the politics of transition were getting very violent. He was at the leading edge of transformation activities at Anglo-American Group. He was the one who announced probably the first and major black economic empowerment deal in the form of African rainbow minerals, which saw the ascendancy of a man like Patrice Motsepe. So his credentials are not in question, and for people to use the race card against the man who's tried to pursue non-racialism in corporate South Africa, it was unfortunate. So I think if there's one positive to draw out of this is that people are not going to be able to use that card as easily unless there is clear evidence that that card can be used.
Terence, thank you very much. Thank you for watching Second Take. Join us again next week for more news analysis.